begin. So our guest author today is CEO and Chief Relationship Officer for Spikes Trophies in Philadelphia. He is also a speaker and just won the 2021-22 Awards and Personalization Association's Speaker of the Year Award in Las Vegas. I met Keith the way I meet most of my authors, through a trusted friend. In fact, she's here today she's joining us in the chat, Miss Harriet Stein. Sometimes we just know people that need to know each other. And I think that was one of those moments for Harriet. So she introduced the two of us. We set up a phone call. We had a great conversation, one about the Pyramid Club, which now Keith is a full-fledged member. But we also talked about his book, A Year of First. And right then I said, you know what, let's get a date on the calendar. I want you at Meet the Author. I want people to hear your story. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Keith Baldwin.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome. Let's talk about your day job before we hop into the book. So you have a business that you've had for a long time. I believe you're out on Grant Avenue in Philadelphia, not far from where one of my cousins lives. Tell us about Spikes.
Well, Spikes has been around for close to 90 years, and I've been here for about half of that time, about over 45 years. First part of my career, I worked as an employee over 25 years for a few absentee owners, and bought it about 15 years ago with 4 other minority partners.
Nice.
So yes, I've been doing it for a while.
So what can I come and buy from you? I know it's trophies. What else do you have?
So we've got 3 locations in the area. You mentioned our main location in Northeast Philadelphia on Grant Avenue by the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. We've got one in One Penn Center, our showroom in Center City. And we've got one out on the main line around the corner from Villanova. And nice. What we do is we manufacture all types of awards. We manufacture signage, specifically Braille signage for a lot of hospitals and universities. And also we are a distributor of promotional products that is anything with a logo that you can think of.
Wow. So I should be calling you the next time I need to order imprinted goods, is what you're saying.
I wouldn't mind that call, and I'd love to help you. Yes.
So there you go. Count on that. I actually, right before COVID hit, I had ordered a bunch of stuff that sat in shelves in my little marketing closet for a couple years. So I've just begun dusting them off and sharing them. So, but you will get a call at some point from me. So you've got a successful business. Why write a book? What prompted you to do this?
Well, actually, it started in December 2019. My title is Chief Relationship Officer. So my job, if you think about our business, very community oriented, is to know people. So I was attending a SHARM event, which is a human resource group, as a guest, and at a local restaurant in South Jersey. And that day, Luann Kahn was a speaker. She had written a book, I Dare Me, or I Dare You, I should say.
Yeah.
And she made us all think of a dare, something we wanted to do, and write it down as a goal, tell it to the person next to us, and then share it. And I was one of the guinea pigs, and I wrote down to fly a plane. And I was there to build relationships, to see if I should join this group, to see if it was going to be worth my time to build these relationships, additional relationships. So she hit a chord with me, and I told her that day, I went and bought her book, that I'm going to go do my own year of first, that she had dared herself. She had been stuck, as she tells the story. She was a cancer survivor. She's an Emmy award-winning journalist, and she was depressed and stuck, and her daughter suggested doing something new. So she went on this journey, wrote a book, and that's where I got the idea from. So it's not unique to me, but I did borrow the idea, and I went on my own unique journey I committed to doing something every day for the first time in my life on January 20th, or January 2020. And I was going to write a journal, a daily journal, to record those, which ended up becoming the book. That's how
Nice.
I started.
That's awesome. And the nice thing about that is you did it in little bite-sized chunks. It's not like you sat down, you're like, I've got this whole thing in my head, but you did it in daily entries and daily experiences. And it's not a little book. There's a lot to read here. But you know what I love is that you threw in some pictures too, which really bring the stories to life, which is really nice. So who would you consider to be the audience for this book? Who should read this?
I've had a number of different people read it. If you're a small business owner, that's probably one of the targets. It takes you through the journey of 2020. So I started this year innocently, and the book was going to be for me, for posterity, for my kids. And then the pandemic showed up in the middle of my leap year, where I was doing typical bucket list type of things, and made it something more for more people than just my family, the small business community. So I'm a small business, and surviving that, depending on where you stood in, it was a dichotomy. There was the have and the have-nots. If you were in the event space, like I was, tied to people gathering, you struggled to survive. If you were on the other side of it, with having to do with home delivery, Amazon, construction people, living at home and doing those type of things at home, you thrived. Well, I was on the other side of that. And so I take a number of the first were unwanted first, quite honestly, that I document that I did not plan. Because when I started, I had a list of things you always want to do.
Sure, that are like fun, right?
That you never get to. I drove a race car at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I did I tied a bow tie. I went to YouTube University. If you think about it, when you do something for the first time in your life, you don't know how to do it. So you learn. So I typed in how to tie a bow tie, how to meditate. And I started doing a lot of different things, and you started looking for things to do that you've always wanted to do.
Nice. I mean, anybody who needs an uplift, that's really almost, and that's how I marketed this. If you need an uplift, join us today, because I think even though there's some heavy stories in here, I think ultimately, and it's funny because when I was thinking, what is one word that describes how I feel from reading your book? And it is delight. Like I just felt delight and an appreciation for life.
That's thank you, because that's exactly what the intent was. My intent was to sell one copy and to help one person. That was my goal in writing it.
There you go.
I've gotten a lot of feedback. I said small business owners, but it's anybody that maybe stuck and looking to live life more. I've been told that I've inspired people to do their own first.
Sure.
I've helped them limit their pity party to get them unstuck.
Right.
I've had somebody send me an actual, here, I think I got it. They sent me, I've gotten a lot of cards, an actual why, a metal why. I helped them find their why. And she sent me a lovely card thanking me and it's emotional.
It is.
For some people have said you've made me a better person. So it's been quite a journey, and I got more out of it than I've ever put into it.
That is the gift of one, sharing your message, whether it be in a book or on a platform. Certainly, I never take for granted having that platform, because I think by taking the time to think through what is this all about, what really matters. And being there to remind folks, like, is there a lot of crazy going on? We got to admit, there's a lot of crazy going on. But you know what? There's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of joy. There's amazing things that you can do on your own or with one other person. But it's like, take some action. Do something. Do something. And it doesn't all, like, we don't all have to go to Las Vegas, though that would be cool. I'm always a fan of going to Las Vegas and ride a race car, but it could be something just locally. You had a great story. And I really want you to highlight this. You actually had 2 entries on March 20th. You had an entry kind of at the beginning of the day and an entry at the end of the day. Would you share that story from March 20th, Keith?
Yeah, it was pretty impactful, and that's probably the day that made this book. That was the pivot to the year.
Yeah.
It was a day that of an unwanted first. You think about it, is right around when everything was shutting down, and we're in Philadelphia, so we were mandated the day before by the governor, and non-essential business. If you think about our business, and I didn't need the governor or the mayor to tell me that. My customers were telling me that.
Yeah.
If you think about it, we were getting calls, and it's our busy time of the year. There's a lot of events. We do the awards for the Penn Relays. They had just canceled, and all our different universities and schools and all the different programs were just calling us and saying cancel. So we were virtually out of business when we were told that we had to shut down. And first time in my life, on March 20th, I had to lay off an employee, and actually I had to lay them all off at 2:30. I
Oh,
still get emotional to this day.
it's
Um,
horrible.
it was heartbreaking. A lot of them have been
Yes.
with me for 20 years, 40 years, and they're my family. And I was affecting their life, and there's nothing I could do about it. So at 2:30, we laid them all off, and this shows you the power of relationships. I got a call less than an hour later. There was an opportunity. Uh, Somebody, my bank, First Trust, uh, had another customer who was on the other side of this, who had the opportunity. They were a call center, AnswerNet. Gary Puddles, I love him. Um, was just awarded the contract for the state of New York. They had to get up and running, and they needed seats filled immediately to make calls for coronavirus tests while the body bags were building up in New York City. And my banker knew that we were laying everybody off, and she says, I know somebody with 50 employees that could use a job. And she calls me up, and I couldn't say yes fast enough. 5 minutes later, I was on the phone with the AnswerNet. I made a deal, and 2 hours after I laid them all off, I offered them their jobs back to become a call center.
If that isn't a miracle, I don't know what is.
I call it my manna from heaven.
It's
dropped out of the sky.
miraculous. You know,
What's even more miraculous is they said yes. And you can't imagine what that weekend was in turning a trophy into a call center. The technology for New York City is, let's just say, not up to date. If you know what DOS is,
yes.
That's what we had to plug into and get training and find laptops and headsets when there wasn't any. And it was amazing. And they worked through the night. We worked through the night to get them calling the next week. And then we ended up calling for the next year. So that was a first, two firsts. First time I ever laid off an employee, and first time we ever became a call center. So it was a pretty unique day.
Did all of them come back? Did all of them join you?
Let's say that out of the 45, 40 of them said yes. And it's funny, it's remarkable. The 5 that didn't, they probably did me a favor.
Okay.
Where they didn't believe in us. They thought we were going to be out of business.
Yeah.
And didn't want to participate. And they did us a favor.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, to get 40, that's amazing. Because the job was completely different, or very different anyway.
Very different.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going and hiring a lot more people. I belong to a national buying group around the country in my industry, and they were going out of business too, and they were giving their employees off. So I ended up hiring 123 additional people from around the country to make calls later on for the state of California for unemployment calls. First time I ever did that.
Wow. You know, I can't, I'm a firm believer in what you put out comes back to you. I think our energy is like a boomerang. And Keith, I've only known you a short time, but I can just feel the goodness about you. And I think you've put a lot of good out there. And that was the goodness coming back, my friend. That was the goodness coming back. That,
We try.
oh, that's just amazing. Amazing. I want to share, like, and because I do organizational development work, and culture is important to me. One of the things you sent me was your list of core values. First of
Yes.
all, cool that you did this, but not surprised because it's the kind of thing you would do in the business you're in. But how did you come up with, and I'll share these with you guys, integrity, lean, learn, hustle, dependability, respect, win-win, care, yes, and fun. So you've got a bunch of values here.
And
How did you come up with this list? Where did this come from?
I belong to a group, a CEO group with DVRC, and it was a topic a number of years ago. And we just developed it from there. And it was developed over time. And I even give some of my talks are about developing core values. And quite honestly, I don't believe we as a company get through the pandemic and come out the other side without those core values and relying on them. Because we cared, we created win-win situations. My people found a way to say yes. There was a number of things that we leaned on. But think about, in developing a core value, take your best employee or the values of some of your best employees. And if you're going to go start a new civilization in another world, you're going to get a rocket ship to Mars, and you only have a few seats. Who would you put on that rocket ship to start this new civilization? And when you start thinking in those terms, and that's what we did, we took, the qualities of our best employees. What made them our best employees? And that's what we wanted to model ourselves. And then we start to hire and fire based off of that. So those qualities were developed because we looked at what are the qualities, who do we want to be, and who are our best people, and what are those qualities, and just tried to replicate them. And if they weren't just words, we define them.
Yeah.
We spell out what they mean.
You do, and it's all right here. I'm stealing this. I'm stealing this idea.
It's in the back of the book. Thank you.
It's great stuff. I am a firm believer that every organization should have clearly stated, defined core values. This is the beauty of being in your office, because you can just grab what you need.
Yeah. So for our onboarding, they get that little card.
Yep.
We give them a mug with all the core values on it.
Nice.
And it's one of the first things we stress in onboarding. They know it before we hire them. We go through the core values and we have them talk about those type of core values. What do they mean? What does that word mean to you?
Yes.
And so, yes, it's very a part of who we are.
Oh my! Well, core values are, I refer to them as guideposts. They're guideposts in decision making. They're anchors to make sure, are we thinking in alignment with who we are? So I'm going to treasure this, and I'm going to share this with other companies I work with to say, look at this. This is cool.
And not only does it work in work, my employees carry that around with them. I've had a number of them tell me that they employ that in their personal lives.
Nice. Well, Keith, shouldn't we all have a list of core values personally? Yeah. I have one grounding statement, and my grounding statement, and Harriet will know that I live by this, and maybe Karen, I see Karen's here today as well, come from a place of love in every choice, in every behavior. Now, sometimes, Keith, it is hard to come from a place of love, right? But that is my anchoring value. And it's a value that has to mesh with the clients I work with.
Yep.
Has to mesh. Beautiful stuff. So I didn't intend to go on a core value thing.
Yeah, who knows where this is going to go, right?
I was feeling it. I'm like, I got to share this. This is some cool stuff. Well, you go around, you are speaking about this now, and you have 5 key learning points that you share in your talk. So I'm almost going to turn the podium to you. Would you mind taking us through those 5 key learning points? And if you don't have your cue cards out, I can give you a shout out because I got the list in front of me.
That's okay. Yeah, so going through the trauma of survival, there was things that I learned. First is I had to limit my pity party
Mm,
because if you can imagine, after 45 years, blood, sweat, and tears, it's the first time I've ever in my family anybody's owned a company. So it took me a long journey to get here, and I've got a lot of people, and I felt like depressed,
sure.
crying. It's like instead of having that last, I had to limit the party because those emotions do not help you in finding solutions. All it
Right.
does is bury you. So one is limit your pity party. Two, in order to get out of the pity party, you got to start asking yourself good questions. And not only good questions of yourself, but of trusted others. So if you were my friend, and I respect your, I call you up and say, I'm hurting. This is going, and those. What can I do? Do you have any ideas for me? And then instead of why me, why woe is me, why not me, and turn it. So I got a list of good questions that I ask myself to get me out of that pity party and start my journey into a positive thought, peace of
Right.
mind. Um,
Flipping a switch, Keith. That's what you're doing. You're just like, "Flip."
and third is relying on those core values that you just mentioned.
Yep.
Um, and the other thing is about good questions is, and I've done a lot of research about it, is we are wired as people with negative bias.
We don't,
Um,
unfortunately, yes.
yes, so a loss stays with us longer than a win. So you have to be conscious of that in asking these good questions to control that negative bias. So after you go through limiting your pity party, asking yourself good questions, relying on your core values, and that solved a lot of my problems or gave me solutions or ideas. Sometimes it didn't. And then I went to bed and slept on it. And I woke up so many times with different ideas, solutions, because I put myself in a positive frame of mind to go to bed and I was thinking about it. And I just woke up with answers.
Yeah.
Um, and then the last is just work the problem. Clear, you know, unemotional, just think about it logically and just work. And I put in a lot of work to get to the other side. And I would just rinse and repeat that formula through the year to get us through. So there were the five things that I noted and I talk about in one of my talks.
Nice. It's a good list. And I love limit your pity party. Now, what you didn't say was don't have a pity party. I think
No,
you have to allow yourself like a moment to grieve, right?
yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
allow it. I'm just limit it instead of having it be a week, couple weeks, a month, a year. Uh, I try to give myself 24 hours,
Yeah.
and if I throw a hell of a party, it's 48, and I'm very conscious of that. So yeah, sometimes you go on a bender, it's a little bit
Right.
longer than
Oh
24
yeah.
hours, but
Depending
yeah,
on the situation. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and you just allow yourself, perfect term, grieve.
Yeah. But you just can't set up camp there. Yeah,
No,
that's what I tell people. That is not where you want to set up camp. You want to visit the grief, acknowledge this is not a good thing. I am not happy. And okay, now then you move on. I love ask yourself and trusted others. So you're not doing this by yourself, Keith.
no,
You recognize you may need other people's insight and who are
and the
like
when you're talking to somebody else, also it gets it out.
it does.
It's a release, and it
Yeah.
also gets you thinking, and so it's so you're not containing to yourself. You're communicating with other people, and you don't know they give you different perspectives that you don't
Yep.
even think about. So
Yeah. Some people I think have I don't know if it's a fear of reaching out, or I think some people who, particularly the givers, the people who are always the ones providing support, the helpers, have the hardest time reaching out and saying, hey, I could use some help. And but you are in fact giving people a gift by asking for help. And I had to learn that in my head for sure, because I'm like, no, I help other people. I don't ask for help.
I'm still learning that.
Oh, Keith, we're in the same boat. But you know this. If I reached out to you and said, Keith, I am stuck. I need some help here. How would you feel that I called you?
Honored.
Giving you a gift.
Yep.
Giving you a gift. And I think this is a lesson. I know we have givers who have joined us today. We struggle with this, but when you ask for help, you are giving a gift. You really are. Good stuff. Good stuff. What is your favorite? And this was Harriet posted this. What is your favorite story in the book? So if you had to pick a couple, one or two stories, what are the ones that you are most delighted to share?
Well, when you have 366 of them, there's a lot.
I know.
There's the most. I'll give you a few. The most impactful were one you just mentioned, the March 20th, which was hiring people back or laying them off. The second would be July 1st, which is I actually flew a plane out of Northeast Philadelphia Airport, and I figured out how to do it. It's like a driver with driver's ed. It was a two-seater. I had somebody next to me, a pilot, who just talked me through it. He let me take off. I flew it, and he talked me into landing it. And I was scared to death, but I did it. But it was exhilarating. I flew from here to Doylestown Airport in 3 minutes and turned around and came back. It was just amazing.
Missing all the traffic.
Yes. So when you set a goal, it's amazing how things come out of the woodwork and find you. I liken it to, I don't know what car you drive, but whatever car you drive, you'll notice that car on the road because you have that car. Well, when you set a goal, it's sort of like that. You recognize all the different things. I talked at a networking event with another pilot. Oh, do you know that you can go to Northeast Philadelphia Airport and do it in an hour? And then I talked to another. I know a pilot who flies out of there, and all of a sudden, all those things came together, and I achieved my goal. So achieving a goal, which started this year first, and then the last another one was December 5th. I slept on the streets of Philadelphia as a homeless person. I wanted to feel what it was like to lose a job and the repercussions of it. I was around it, laying people off, and I had friends that were struggling to keep their businesses in place. And I had my 15 minutes of fame. I had a guy from KYW come knock at my door, news radio, and he was telling me about a story that he had the week before he met me, where he says, Keith, people like me and you who have had jobs our entire lives are in lines, food lines. And it just hit me. So I was on 6th Street between Callahill and Race, December 5th, sleeping with the homeless. It gave me great perspective, empathy. I don't know how they do it. I struggled for one night. So they were the heavy ones. And then there's a lot of fun ones. Don't think anything less of me, but
you're in a no judgment zone, Keith. Go for it.
If I was curious about anything, this was a license to go solve my curiosity. So I wore high heels one day.
That was one of my favorites.
I wore a pink tutu. I bought it. I was inspired by John Krasinski, who had a podcast during the pandemic. And at the end of it, somebody sent it to me, and he got up and he had a tutu on. He wanted to make people laugh. Well, I told my wife, go get me a pink tutu, and I wore it on my board meeting. I'm a president of a national association. And right in the middle of COVID, where everybody was worried about staying in business. And we were talking about some heavy subjects. At the end of it, I got up and I was wearing my pink tutu to lighten the mood. Cooking pot brownies for my 86-year-old mother. We had just gotten her medical marijuana card. She is on some heavy drugs for back and leg industry, and she's in constant pain.
Okay.
So I didn't do it right. And let's just say my wife was beside herself when I did it. Um, I fly. You ever do that? It's a
Oh,
simulated.
King of
Yes,
Prussia.
King of Prussia.
Yep.
I spontaneously stopped by there and like I've never done that, so I just would
Fun.
do that kind of stuff.
It's
I
fun.
shot trap. That was very cool. Um, so there was a lot of different things. Um, I simulated being blind for a day
Wow.
because I wanted to see what that was like. I did a watercolor. I took guitar lessons. I fronted a rock band. I meditated. Yeah, a bunch of other ones were religious services because I was supposed to go to Jerusalem and my trip there was canceled. But I didn't know at the time they were I was going to cancel it. It was earlier in the year, but I wanted an understanding of the various religions. So I would podcast, my first podcast. I would learn about religions from podcasts, and then I would go and crash different services. So
Nice.
I went to a mosque. I went to a Mormon service. I went to um, a number of them before they were shut down with COVID. Uh, so I did all that kind of stuff, and I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Does
This,
that answer your question?
oh my gosh. Well, I think when you have these experiences, even though it may not have been the intention at the outset, it just builds your understanding of the world in a very different way. Because I don't think the beliefs we have are based on the experiences we've had. So if we have limited experiences, our beliefs are limited. They're based on only what we know and what we've seen. So you kind of expanded your experience spectrum, and in so doing, have a new way of looking at life, really.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of perspective and understanding, and I learned a lot. Like I said, it gave me appreciation for things,
Sure.
empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I've been doing a lot of leadership development over the last couple of years with a few clients, and empathy is absolutely huge. And you even have, Harvard Business Review, you think it's kind of I don't know, kind of a hard business, non-emotional kind of. No, there are so many authors that write for Harvard Business Review that are emphasizing empathy as a key leadership skill. And yeah, and if you have it, it's a gift. I know leaders that are trying to cultivate that. But I think if you sleep on this city street with the homeless, how can you not start to feel that, right? And have empathy.
Yeah, my wife wasn't exactly supportive, but
It's scary.
yes, it was very scary.
Yeah.
But it was. I think about that night a lot.
Yeah. I have,
Makes you appreciate the roof over your head.
it sure does. I went to school at Chestnut Hill College, so we had the St. Joe nuns there. And believe it or not, one of my professors from college, she's up in years. She's got to be probably 90. She goes into the city and distributes socks to the homeless and talks to them. And even just her doing that at her age, I wonder about her safety. But it's a mission for her.
Yep.
It's a ministry. But God bless you for doing that. So, if people were to take away only one thing from your book, and by the way, I'm seeing some questions in the chat room. If you guys have questions, plunk them out there. I'm going to wrap up my questions, so we'll ask yours. But if people were to take away only one thing from reading your book, what is the one thing you want them to take away?
Think of something you've always wanted to do and you've never taken the time to do it, and just go do it. Go experience it first.
Nice.
That's what I would suggest. That would be
Well,
my one thing.
I'm going to put that out to the chat room. So those of you who are with us in this program, what are the things you want to do? What are the things you want to do? So if you have ideas, put them in the chat. So I'm going to ask some of these questions. Darby's asking, how did you come up with some of these ideas? They're so creative.
Well, some I stole from Luann Kahn's book. So at the very beginning, once I decided I was going to do it, I started the plan. So I put that in the book, where some I stole, borrowed from her, and then I started to think of other ones that I wanted to do. Then I looked at my calendar for the year. Like I said, I had a trip to Jerusalem planned. So there was a number of firsts that I had planned for coming up. And then it was like, what do I want to do? And I just started to make a list of them. Some of them were real simple for fillers for when I got really busy. Like one of those drinks, the 5-hour energy drinks. I never had one. So that was a simple one. One day I would take it. I had a list of things that I had a plan for, like flying a plane. I had a list of things that I could do at a moment's notice. I thought juggling was one of them. I put juggling down. Oh my God. It took me months to juggle. I thought it'd be easy. I went through
hard.
a number of YouTube videos, and I went and went and bought a special juggling kit. So I had a bunch of those things. Magic. I did magic tricks. I learned magic tricks.
Nice.
So it was just, what do you want to do? And what do you think is cool, or what are you curious about? That's where the list came from.
Nice. And as you're saying these things, I'm thinking I can hook you up. I know someone. So like the juggling, I got a friend in South Jersey, Chris Clayton. He does juggling. He does, when you're up on those stilts, he's a stilt walker. Yeah. He's also a wonderful actor and singer. Magic. I got magician friends. Jim Daly, I could hook you up with him. Norm Clark. So
you start talking about it, and that's the other thing that happened. I start talking about these first, and then friends would come. Hey, have you ever done disc golf? No. Okay. And they invite me, and I would go birding. I would have never gone bird watching. It's called birding. And again, have you ever done birding? It's one of my passions. So I got to experience it with somebody that's passionate about birding. Very cool. I would have never done anything like that. So it got me to do things through friends.
I have a challenge for you. I know your book is done, but have you done stand-up comedy?
No. And I'm still looking. People ask me, are you still doing first? I don't feel the pressure to do them every day. Right. But I do look for opportunities for them. Like tonight, I'm going to my first scuba diving class. I'm going to be certified to be a scuba diver.
Nice.
Because I booked a trip to the Galapagos coming up, and I want to dive in the Galapagos for the first time. Awesome. So I'm always looking for those opportunities. I don't think I'm funny. I'd be scared to death, but I try it now.
I'm happy to take you to an open mic. And if you want to do that, we'll get that on the calendar. There you go. Deal. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It is. It's funny because I've been doing comedy now 20 years, but going back, I would have never thought I would do it, because not that I didn't think I was funny. I think in the moment I can be funny, but I just didn't see myself on a stage, joke after joke after joke. But when I tell you, that is an amazing experience to tell a joke and have people laugh. That is
it's a deal.
All right.
It's the furthest thing from me that I would have ever guessed. But again, these first get me to do that kind of stuff and stretch myself and take some chances. And as you get older, so I fail. That's the other thing I learned. If you fail, okay, move on.
Yeah. Well, I'll hook you up with that. I'm looking through the chat. Anybody have any other questions we want to ask? Lisa's asking, when did you find the time to do all these things?
I just made the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have it. And that's the other thing. I did feel pressure. There's certain times where, I was working 24/7 during the pandemic, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't do a first today. So then there was things that I would go, and the 5-hour drink as an example.
That's low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So I did have some filler but I did it.
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
the time.
Well, you have inspired me, my friend, and I'm sure you've inspired others. This book is beautiful. It's a fun read. It's the kind of book you can skip around, skim
Yes.
for the stories you want to read. I have to admit, I went right to the high heel story first just because I was intrigued, but then went back and read other stories. But
It's funny, my staff did the same thing.
It's like, this is going to be, and I love the picture. I love the picture of you with the Santa. It's just, you could use a petty. I'm just going to say, you might want to sign up.
I got my first pedicure after that. My wife got me.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But you, my friend, are a joy. I'm delighted Harriet introduced us. I'm happy for the folks that participated with us today that could hear your message and feel your passion for your business and for life. Just like I said about your book, you've been a delight, and I look forward to hanging out and doing some more things together. You're a member at the Pyramid Club. I know we had our one of the members of the Pyramid Club who had been on for a while. She's not here now, but I'll put a plug in. Pyramid Club is a wonderful place in Center City, corner of 18th and Market, 52nd floor, beautiful view of the city, private business club. You can go and have dinner there, or like Keith and I and my good friend Harriet, you can join the club, go there, have some meetings, have a meal, and then we're going to do some in-person meet the authors. I think we're going to get back to that sooner rather than later, Keith. I'm feeling like people are having more of a comfort level getting into the city.
I see it in my business. The business is coming back. I opened up my Center City showroom. First time in my life I ever closed my Center City showroom. It was there for 30 years.
You had to.
So, yeah, it is coming back. It is coming back.
So I look forward to seeing everyone face to face. I'm going to put in one more plug for my show tonight because I want friendly faces in the audience. If anybody can get out to Conwell-Egan High School, I'd love to see you at the show. It's myself. It's Jim Daly, who is a magician and a comedian. And then Mr. Joe Conklin, who pretty much everybody in Philadelphia knows from sports radio. Keith, you probably have come across Joe in your travels.
I have not, and I'm upset that I can't get there tonight because I've got my class.
It's every now and then Joe books me for a lot of his Catholic gigs. There's a finite number of comedians that can do those Catholic gigs, and I happen to be part of that little posse. So every now and then Joe will reach out. So I'll have more shows and I'll keep you in the loop. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a delight. Darby, thank you behind the scenes. Everybody who joined us today, I saw so many dear friends that I love. Thank you for joining us. Karen, Lisa, Harriet, Charlene, Barb, Pam, thank you for joining us. All of you, big hugs. We will put this out on a link, the recording. So any of you that missed the beginning or want to rewatch it, we'll put that link out. Keith, stay in touch, man.
One shameless plug. If you want the book,
Shameless
you can
plug.
get it on
Go
Amazon.
for it.
You can get it on Amazon. So it is available.
Boom.
Right? And
I know Darby has been posting a link for that book in the chat. So if you haven't already gotten your copy, sometimes people order one before. If you haven't already gotten a copy, good read. Good read. And if you go to your office, I'm sure you'll sign it for them.
I will.
There you go. All right. You guys, group hug. Love you all. Keith, take care. I'm going to end our recording here. Boom.